Hello, everybody. My name is Kody from Fish and a Merfolk podcast. I'm going to be doing a brief video here where I'm talking about the progress that I'm making on foiling out my deck and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and start off by saying, you can find us at any of these places that you see up there on the at the top of the screen, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. You can also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/fishcastmtg, which is, how we fund things for this website, for this little project we're doing, making new logos and stuff like that. It's going to be cool. So we're going to go ahead and start here. We have, first off, these are my basic lands. Now, in all of my decks except for one, Merfolk is not excluded from this. I use these Rebecca Gay arts, and when I saw that they made these for the standard showdown, I had to have them because I just love. It's very Lorwyn-esque. I really like it because it's just super cool, very storybook style looking art. But I run 12 of these as my basic islands. Next up, going into the non-basics, we have two of Cavern of Souls. I do not have foil Cavern of Souls. My wife opened rather, a Termagoyf in Modern Masters 2015, and I promptly traded that to a friend of mine for a playset of Cavern of Souls. So I think I kind of won out in the long run. But so I do run two non-foils in the deck. Next up is Mutavault, another 4 of here. These are the GP promos. I think the art's great. I mean, they're no champs art, but, they're pretty cool. Right now, it's April 15th, I think. April 15th? Oh, yep, April 15th. So these are, they're running around $18. I think I picked them up for about $20 a piece in January. So yeah, there's my playset of Mutavaults. And then the last two lands in the deck that I run are Menamo, School at Water's Edge, and Oboro, Palace in the Clouds. So Oboro lets you, tap it for blue, bounce it, and then replay it, and then tap it for blue again. So you have 2 blue, or return it in response to Liliana activation so you can discard it. And Menamo is basically just a untapped non-island blue source. So it's not as important to have. I would say if you're going to get one of the two, pick up Oboro. That's definitely the more important one. Next, moving into the non-lands, I have my playset of Aether Vials. These I got, they're the Iconic Masters version. I picked these up right after or a little bit after Iconic Masters kind of landed. And I got them for, I think, 40 a piece from Card Kingdom. I think that's about as good as you can get for foil Aether Vials that aren't masterpieces. Because those are getting up there. They're, I think, close to 200, if not over 200. Next up are the Curse Catchers. Now, I have Lorwyn Curse Catchers here, or Lorwyn Block Curse Catchers. I love the art on this, and I got this before Masters 25. So, but these are just normal pack foil Curse Catchers. They look great. And as Corbin accurately predicted, Curse Catcher is the worst Curse Catcher. Next up, these are Spreading Seas. There's no other foils or promos or anything like that, so they're just the standard foil Spreading Seas. Next up, we're gonna continue through the 2 drops. I have my Silvergill Adepts, which these are Russian promos, and I think they look great. I love the new art. I just really like these, and I happened to stumble across these on Twitter, and so yeah, I've got my playset here of the Russian promos. Next up, we're going to move on to the Lords, which are pretty standard here, I've got the playset of Master of the Pearl Trident, the only copy, M13 here. So there we go. There's that, or the only foil copy rather. I know they've been reprinted recently in the dual deck, and it was in something else. I'm pretty sure, but anyway. Next up is my Lord of Atlantis's, which are the time shifted foils. So these look pretty sweet. I do eventually want to get the 7th edition ones, but those are very expensive. I'd say I think it's like $80 for a damaged copy or something like that on TCG Player. Rounding out our 2 drops, we have Harbinger of the Tides. These are the promos from Magic Origins, with the date stamp. So that's about as sweet as it gets for your Harbinger of the Tides. Moving into 3 drops, we're running 2 Dismember. These are the F&M promos, and I think they're a couple bucks more than the regular version. Dismember is just really good right now against creatures, killing things before, you can deal with them. And like I said, it gives them -5/-5, so it's pretty sweet there. So Dismember, super good. Next up, there's 2 one-ofs here. There's Kopala, Warden of Waves, and Kira, Great Glass Spinner. Obviously, these are for protection. They help with Jace activations. You can't target your things, or they have to pay to do so. It also helps with Bloodbraid Elf, where they get free spells off of Bloodbraid Elf and can't bolt your dudes as easily. So having these in the deck is pretty great. All right, next up is let's see here, Maraudry. So this play set here, these are the F&M promo Maraudries. I really love the art, the non kind of human style art. Plus you can see like in the background, there's a bunch of other Marrow swimming in the background. Maraudry is super cool, has a lot of synergies. Tapping things, bouncing things. Or tapping things so that Harbinger can bounce them. It's a lot of fun. Then lastly, here is the playset of Master of Waves. These are just the Theros pack foils. I did buy the alternate art ones first, but they were curved and warped and really bad, so you couldn't see, or like you could tell what card it was, and I just didn't want to have any trouble with that. So I did have to invest in the pack foils here. For the sideboard, I have a couple things here. Some pretty sweet stuff. Let's see here. We're going to start with 3 of Relic of Progenitus for graveyard decks. Helps with decks that play Snapcaster or Hollowed One and things like that. Relic is super, super hot and good to have. Next up is Gut Shot. These are super good against Affinity, and humans it can be good against humans as well. But having Gut Shot as removal is pretty sweet. Next up is Ceremonious Rejection, helping with Tron and Affinity and just fun stuff like that. It's an all-around good counterspell. Next up is 3 Unified Wills. These are super great hard counters because we generally have more creatures than everybody. You can also vial in a creature and then Unified Will, which would be super sweet to kind of like get you ahead on creatures there. And the last is 3 of Negate. These are the Rival of Ixalan foils. A friend of mine got me one, and then when I saw it in foil, I thought that art was just so great. I think it's right behind the art that the player rewards, but I do think this is super sweet and kind of evocative of that kind of blocking a huge spell and just have it kind of cascade around you. I think that's pretty sweet. All right, so next I'm going to go over the main board parts for Legacy. So what we have here. Oop, knocking over cards everywhere. So next up we have, let's see here. We'll start here with a playset of Force of Wills. Now these are just kind of regular Alliance ones. I picked these up for 50 a piece. I found a guy locally that wanted to sell them. Unfortunately, I just couldn't spring for foils or the Invocation art Force of Wills. Maybe one day they'll be in my grasp. But currently, just regular Force of Wills will have to do. Next up, playset of True Name Nemesis, one of the best creatures in Legacy. I guess sees play pretty widely, and I think True Name Nemesis is super sweet. Obviously, only has a commander printing, so no foil printing there. Next, I run one of Echoing Truth. So there we go. Echoing Truth is super good against Sneak and Show, and it's actually pretty good against elves because they have a lot of the same creatures. So being able to bounce, a couple things is pretty sweet. Next up, I am currently running a playset of Smuggler's Copter, and Smuggler's Copter is super good. It's it dodges sorcery speed removal. Draws you a card and discards, so you can get past a board state where you have like force and a land in hand, so you can draw a card to discard to force instead of having that land in hand. Smuggler's Copter is super great. I also have a playset of Chalice of the Voids. Again, not masterpieces or anything like that, but Chalice of the Void is definitely super good. It stops a lot of decks dead in their tracks. If you can land a Chalice on one, it's super strong against Burn, Grixis Delver. It's just all good all the time. Chalice of the Void is just a dumb powerful card. And then the other thing that we add is 2 more Cavern Souls instead of the Minamo and Oboro. So we're running 4 Caverns, 4 Mutavaults, and 12 Islands. For my sideboard for Legacy, I'm sorry, I also run the 2 Dismembers in the sideboard here. So the sideboard is 2 Dismembers for the sideboard. The relics also make the move, so we have our 3 relics. I'm running 2 Flusterstorms, which are good against Storm, Burn decks. It's just good to have another counterspell. And there's definitely just a lot of decks where siding in Flusterstorm is definitely correct. I have 2 of Grafdigger's Cage. This helps against Sneak and Show decks. It helps with Reanimator, and it helps with elves for them being able to Green Sun things into play. So we can, Grafdigger's Cage to get that taken care of. Next up is 2 Sorcerer's Spyglass. It's kind of like a Thoughtseize effect, and you can also like turn off Wasteland. You can turn off Fetch Lands. So Sorcerer's Spyglass, super sweet. Then I have 2 of Back to Basics. No foil printings, but Back to Basics wrecks a lot of decks in Legacy because there's lots of greedy mana bases. But Back to Basics is great to pull in against a literal litany of decks. And then last up, Venser Shaper Savant bounces creatures or spells or permanents. Sorry, it bounces pretty much anything. So we can get Merit Lage tokens out of there. We can do a lot with Venser. He does cost 4, which is a lot, but when you in those long grindy games where you're kind of waiting on it, having Venser to bounce things is super sweet. All right, so that's the decks for both Legacy and Modern. Thank you so much for watching, and again, find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as FishcastMTG, and if you can, support us on patreon.com/FishcastMTG. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.